Be demoing deployment. I have a gist that I've created that I'm going to send to you guys about deployment, because the last time around when we did mean, it took one of the guys who did extremely well on the stack, it took him like 6+ hours to get his stuff deployed. All right. So I tried creating something that's a little bit simplified that I'm hoping will alleviate some of those frustrations. All right. So let's take a look at what we got here. We've got this little gist that just kind of goes through all the steps that we need to do. The instructions on the platform are maybe a little bit more involved, but they're also not, or at least the last time I checked, they weren't as up to date as I would have liked. So this should be everything that you need to do in a nutshell. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into a project that we want to deploy, and let's say since we've been working in RESTful tasks so much, we'll just deploy that one, right? Got my project here, and we know that we're going to need to create some kind of a Git repository, right? That's pretty much standard whenever we're doing this deployment stuff. Notice how I already have a Git repository. Let me go to my terminal here. So here, if I list all the files in my, if I list all the files in my public directory, Jesus. Oh, come on. But I was trying, okay. Hang on one second. So if I do ls-la, it will actually show me, oops, all the files that we have inside here. And notice that we already have this .git folder, okay? So that means that when we created the Angular project, it also created a Git repo for us. Now I believe there's a command that you guys can run, and I'll double check this real quick. So when you say ngnew, I want to say it's something like no-git. Let me double check and see if no git commit. Oh, it's skip git. Okay. So if you guys just want to create a brand new Angular project inside your app and you want to skip the Git repo, you can do this flag like that. So we would say something like ngnew, the name of the Angular project, so typically it's going to be public for us, and then we would add this flag to it here if we want to opt out of Angular creating a Git repo for us. Now the reason why I'm saying this is because right now our project, let me just get rid of this terminal here. There we go. So right now our project has this sort of sub-repo in the public directory, which is not going to be so great for our deployment stuff. It'd be better if we just have one repo for this whole project, right? Okay. Does anyone know how I can just kill that sub-repo? Yeah, so all we need to do is delete that directory in there. So I'm inside my public folder, and I can say rm-rf.git, which is the Git folder that holds all the repo info. Okay. Okay, so now if I do ls-la again, gets so crunched up. But notice how we no longer have this .git file, right? God, it's so hard to read. I'm confusing myself. All right, so that was basically the first step of the process. Is what we want to do is we want to delete that inner repository that's inside my public folder. Or if you know that you're going to deploy, just create it and do the skip, use the skip git flag. All right. Now the other thing that we want to do is we want to create this gitignore file, which is going to tell Git, I want to ignore these directory-specific files, this is for a Mac. If you're on Windows, don't even worry about the ds.ds store. But we do want to skip the node modules folder. Why?
We're going to reinstall them on the server?
Because it is an absolute behemoth. It's going to be huge, right? It's going to have lots of stuff in it. We don't want that to be part of our repo. So let's just add that to a gitignore file. So I'll go here, and I can go code. Oops. Let me get out of my public directory. So this should be in the root of your project. We'll just say code.gitignore. Right. And now the files, or the things I want to ignore, again, are just the ds store files that are in each specific directory, and then also my node modules. Okay, so that's good. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of some question about that. The reason why I'm not going to ignore the dist folder is because in previous iterations, I've had trouble actually building Angular on the server. So if we keep the dist folder as part of our repo, we won't have to rebuild on the server. Okay, so I'm just going to do it that way. You guys might run into similar issues. That's why I'm suggesting let's just keep the dist folder as part of our Git repo, right? All right, so let me open up the terminal again. The next thing we want to do is actually set up our new Git repo, right? It's going to be in the root of this project directory. So let's say git init. Okay, now we've got our empty Git repo. Now we have to add all the files that we're interested in, right? And then we say git commit, and this is just going to be our initial commit. All right, so that was our initial commit. Let's come back here. So now that we have our repository on our local machine, we need to actually push it up to GitHub or Bitbucket if you're using Bitbucket. Make sure, since this is going to be an exam, that you guys do your repo as private. All right. Cool. So let's do that. So let's go over to GitHub. And I'm just going to create my remote repository. So we'll go, oops, I could just add it from right here. New repository. And we'll call this RESTful tasks API. RESTful tasks. All right, let's create this guy. Excellent. So now all we need to do is just push up our code to this remote repository, right? And they give you the instructions on how to do that down here. Now in my case, I'm going to push up using SSH, so I'm just going to copy this guy right here. So we're going to say git remote add origin, and then actually paste in that URL. So let's say git remote add origin. Okay. And now the next command we're going to run is git push -u origin master. So we're just pushing to the master of the remote repository. Okay, there we go. So it's saying that we're tracking master on the local as well. Okay, very good. So let's keep going through our instructions. So that's all set. Now we need to actually set up a new instance on AWS. This is going to be our actual server, right? So let's go to the AWS console, aws.amazon.com, sign into the console. Why is this so slow? Okay, got my LastPass going. Where is it? There it is. Does anyone use LastPass, by the way? One person? Man, how do you guys remember all your passwords?
It's the same password.
Yeah, it's a single one. All right.
You said every time.
Reset it every time. God, what a pain that would be, right? All right, so we want to go to the EC2 part of the console. So let's click on this. And right now I have 0 running instances, so that's nice. And then I want to launch an instance, right? Click on that. Okay, and I think I want to go with an 18.04 Ubuntu server. So make sure when you guys select this that it is free tier eligible, otherwise you may be charged. You will also be charged if you guys run more than one server at the same time. It probably won't be some huge amount of money, but you probably don't want to be charged.
I already lost 50 cents.
50 whole cents, huh? Man, that hurts. All right, cool. So we're good with this. We click to launch the instance, and then general purpose t2.micro is fine. That'll work. And then we also want to change the security settings, right? So if we go to configure security group right here, we want to say that we should be able to connect via SSH from, I'm probably going to say from anywhere. If you guys want to restrict it to where you are at that point in time, you could change it right here and just say my IP. Okay? So that means if you accessed it by SSH here at the dojo and then you went home, you won't be able to get in unless you change the security setting again. So I'm just going to say anywhere here. And then the other rule that we need to add is we need to say we want this to be accessible to the outside world. So we want to set the HTTP rule to anywhere. So that way when I'm going to check your tests, I can actually see it, right? The connection will work. So let's say anywhere. Ooh, are you actually going to do that? Fancy schmancy. Yeah, wow. Yeah, you could use Let's Encrypt or something like that. All right, review and launch. Okay, so let's launch this guy here. And here, this is where we get into the whole key pair situation, right? We saw this before when we were doing Python. We need to, I'm just going to create a new key pair for this. And we'll just call this mean key pair. Oops. Download the key pair. And then we launch the instance. Okay, cool, it's been launched. So if I click on it, it will actually take me to the page. The instance here, you can see that it's still kind of booting up here and so forth. So that's fine. And then once this is ready, we're going to be able to connect to it through the shell using SSH, right? Let me try refreshing this real quick. Pending. All right. Fair enough. Anyone have any interesting stories to tell today?
That was ping pong.
It was great. It was actually a pretty good sports day in that regard. This is the next best thing. Although I know the Python guys want a rematch, so maybe we should play some kickball next week. That'd be cool. Yeah, I'm sure. Every day, right? Okay, cool. We're actually running here, so this is good. So now if I check this box, I can click on Actions and Connect, and that'll tell me what I need to do to connect, right? And it actually includes the key pair that I set up for this. So it's saying here, we need to actually modify the permissions of the key pair. Now, this is a key detail. Sometimes people are doing this from not in the directory that's holding their key pair. And obviously that's not going to work, right? You have to go to where that key pair was downloaded to. So I know in my case, it was downloaded to my downloads folder. So let me make this a little bigger. So I'll just go cd downloads. Yeah.
It is downloads.
Right. You guys can come grab them. All right, cool. So I'm just going to run this command that we got straight from the AWS console, right? Cool. Now, the other command we need to run to actually connect is going to be this. SSH-I, the name of the key pair right here, and then actually Ubuntu at the at this long address here. So I'm just going to copy this, go back here, let's connect, okay? And it's always going to ask you, it's going to say something like the authenticity cannot be established. You have to say yes, I'm going to trust it anyway. What?
You gotta go into
Yeah, I'm in the right place. I set the security groups on this. I know that, right? Security groups. Status checks. Man, how do I get back to those security groups?
scroll to the right.
Over here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then I go to the launch wizard. Inbound down here, right? Okay. What was our issue here? Permission denied public key. It's really odd.
Did the IP address change just now?
But didn't I set it to be accessible anywhere? Of the actual, you mean the address of the actual server? Is that what you're saying?
Your IP.
Well, even if it had, that shouldn't make any difference because I set it to be accessible anywhere, right?
For SSH?
Yeah.
No.
Wow. Public key permission denied. I haven't bumped into that one before. Public key permission denied AWS. Host key now. What? But it didn't say host key not found, right? It just said permission denied. Authentications. Yeah, I changed them. If you connect to your instance using SSH and get any of the following errors, verify that you are connecting with the appropriate username for your AMI and that you have specified the proper private key file for your instance. Wait, hold on one second. What? Oh man. All kinds of weird stuff going on here. Alright, so let me go back in my downloads folder. Order these. Dang it. Okay, mean key pair. I think what happened was this. Yeah, I had another key pair with the exact same name, and so when it downloaded, it's no longer had that name. It appended like a 1 or 2 or something like that, right? Yeah. So this one right here is the one that we're really trying to use, right? So let me just dump this guy right here, move to trash, and then let's just rename this one. Okay, and then we need to actually run that same command, right, to change the permissions on that. So if I go here, go back to, what the heck? Let me just go back. Jesus. Okay, so back to connect. This is what we needed to run again, right? to modify the permissions of the key pair. Let's run that one more time. Okay. And then to connect, again, it's just going to be this guy right here. Oops. Yeah, boom. Woohoo. All right, so let me get rid of that. Cool. So we can keep moving now. We are now connected to the server. Let's go down below. We connected to the server. We also want to update the server, and then we want to install some things here. All right. So we're going to install OpenSSL and some other packages. Let's run the update first. And then let's install these guys. There we go. All right, and then the next thing that we're going to have to do after these are done is we need to install Node itself. Okay, so this is a little bit simplified, I think, from what's in the platform right now. 10.x. Should I do 12.x now? That's what you guys are all on, right? 12.13, you don't know? Something like that. All right, let's see if we can get away with this. And I'll change the gist if this works. So we'll do setup 12.x. Oh, sweet. All right. Well, 10 will work. Can't execute binary file. Yeah. Telling you that worked before. Drives me. Install node Ubuntu. Oh yeah, apt-get, right. Okay. So let's try this. Isn't this what we were doing a second ago? Ah. True. Yeah, let's do. Yeah. All right. Let's go back here. Okay, so that's working. Let me update this gist real quick. Yeah, I'll do it later. You got the gist. Okay, cool. So we've got Node installed. The next thing that we need to do is install Nginx. This is going to be our web server, right? So let's install that guy. apt-get install Nginx. Back here. Okay, and let's keep going. So next thing that we need to do is actually clone our project from that remote repository to the server. Okay, so I'm just going to cd into the /var/www directory. This is typically where all of our web apps will be. And then I'm going to go back to my repo here. And then since we want to clone this, I'm going to clone it using HTTPS. So I got to change this right here. Okay. Now all we need to run is just git clone and then that specific address. Git clone. I need to do sudo git clone. Did I have that in the gist too? Yes. In the gist, it says sudo git clone. All right, cool. Is it a double on that? Is that right? Okay.
No.
Yeah, so what this is going to do, if we do sudo with the double exclamation, is it means it'll run the previous command with that elevated privilege. Cool. Thank you on that one. I had forgotten about that. And then the next thing that we want to do is actually set up our Nginx configuration. All right. So we're going to cd into /etc/nginx/sites available. Real quick. Clear this out. And then all we need to do is we want to edit this specific file, right? This is going to be our Nginx config file. I might choose to edit it in my text editor locally, so you guys can kind of figure that out on your own if you want to do it. But if I just grab this basic configuration, and oh gosh, let me just close this out here. Okay, and then we'll set up a new file. I'll just paste this guy in there. And then notice that we've got a couple things that we need to replace. We need to replace our private IP and then the port that this project is going to be running on. Now, the port that I'm running on is 4500. Yours may be different. Okay, so back here on the Amazon console here, if we click on this guy, it should tell us down here in the description what our private IP is, right? So if we go private IPs right here, I'm just going to copy that to the clipboard, and then back in my configuration here, paste this guy in there. And then I also need to replace the port number. So it's going to be 4500. All right? And then back to our instructions here, the next thing that we're going to do is actually save this. And the file name is just going to be your project name. Okay. So we'll call this RESTful tasks. So I'm going to say vim. I need to go sudo vim, right? And we'll say RESTful tasks. And then I'll just paste in this confirmation. You guys remember how I write and quit out of this file? Okay, so first, yeah, first I need to actually click escape, right? And then we'll say :WQ, right, to write quit. All right, very good. So we've got our configuration ready to go. And then what we want to do is actually remove the default configuration that's currently in there. Okay, so if I just go ls here, notice how we've got this default file here. So I'm just going to remove that. rm default. Move write protected file. Yes. Denied. Okay. Oh, I should have done sudo double exclamation, right? Gotta start doing that more often. Okay, cool. So the next thing that we need to do is actually create this symbolic link. Okay, and I'm going to grab this whole line here, if I can. Go back to the terminal, and notice that we have to change some different things. So we need to change this to our project name. Same thing with this right here. Did what happen? Apparently. What the heck? Did I copy that with the line break at the end or something? Oh yeah, they are. Whoops. Good grief. Uh-oh. Okay, so let's change this to RESTful tasks. Go back here. RESTful tasks again. Okay, so I made the symbolic link, but I do want to see if I go up one level into sites enabled. Uh-oh. See, I ended up with a file here that I didn't want, right? So I need to actually delete that. Yeah, so let me just go up one level, sites enabled, and then we'll rm project name. Oh, come on. Okay, so we remove that, and then we also want to remove this default config file right here, right? Okay, sudo rm default. Okay, excellent. So we're where we want to be. Now, the other thing that we're going to do here is we're going to install this process manager that will be able to run our Node app continuously. Okay. So when we're doing this stuff in development, notice how we always keep that terminal open because we're running the app. This way, we won't have to do that. It'll just be running for us. All right, so we're going to go sudo npm install pm2, and then we're going to install that globally. So this is process manager 2. But I installed Node, no?
Yeah, I think they're separate for them to
Hmm.
because you want to use
Yeah, right. Okay, so can we just install it using apt-get? All right. Unable to correct problems. You have held broken packages. Depends Node.js, but is not going to. Didn't I install Node?
You installed it without using. I don't know.
It's like 6 hours.
Just let you do it before your exam.
Yeah. All right. Well, then let's just try installing it using apt-get, right? Apt-get install Node.js. Okay. Oh, cool. It's installing 12.13.0. Perfect. All right. So do it that way. I'll have to change. I need to change this gist because I hadn't looked at it in a couple months. All right. So node-v. Okay. So now we're on node 12.13.0. That's good. So if I go npm install -g pm2, see if we can get that. Oh yeah, I probably will have to sudo that. Yep. Right you are. Sudo to the rescue. Cool. All right. So the other thing that we need to do is we need to change the ownership of this directory to prevent permission errors. All right. You guys may or may not experience these types of issues, but I'm just going to go ahead and head it off at the pass. Okay. Oops. Okay, and again, we want to replace this with our project name. So it's going to be RESTful. Ah, shoot. Now I'm questioning what it's called. So ls var www. It's RESTful hyphen tasks. All right, so let me run. Oops. Run this, and we'll change this to RESTful hyphen tasks. What do you mean it's not the right command? No, I was just trying to change the ownership. Okay. So there we go. The other thing that we want to do is actually go into our project folder and install all the node dependencies. Okay. So let's go cd var www restful tasks. Oops. And now we want to run npm install. Cool. Dependencies have been installed. So that means we should be able to run our server. However, we also need to install MongoDB, right? Okay, so we've got some commands here that should handle that for us. Let's add this key so that we can install version 4.2. And then here's the command that should actually add this guy to our Ubuntu repositories. And then finally, we're going to run sudo apt get update, and then we're going to install mongodb-org. And I'm just going to take all of these guys because ultimately we want to start that MongoDB, right? So let's run all of these. Oh, it's 4.2.1 now. Okay. Whew. All right. So I've got these ng build commands. We're probably just going to skip out on those because we included our dist folder in the repository, right? So we shouldn't have to build the Angular app anymore. This would be if you needed to install the Angular command line interface on the Ubuntu server. So let's see if this is done here. Cool. Everything's done. We set up MongoDB-org. Let's see if we can run it. Failed, couldn't connect. Whew. Didn't I just start the database? Sudo service MongoD start.
Yeah, I was doing it on my following platform, it said to do it that way. But I found that I don't think they have like a service file for that particular.
Oh, there we go. Now we're in the Mongo shell. Huh. That was weird. Yeah, that was odd. All right. So fair enough. So again, we're going to skip the whole Angular part, but we just need to basically get into our project directory, which I think we're already in right now. And we basically just need to start up the process manager. Okay. So let's go here. Let's go pm2 start server.js. Okay, cool. And if you guys ever need to take a look at your processes running, you can say pm2 status. Okay, and we're online, and you can see how much of the CPU it's using. So the only other thing that we need to do is basically just restart Nginx. Okay. So let's say sudo service where are we? Sudo service Nginx reload is what we want to run. All right. Now we should be able to actually view it in the browser. So I'll go back to my, find what my public IP is here. In my instance down here, I've got this public IP. I can copy that to the clipboard. Yeah, that wasn't how that was supposed to go. Man. All right, so if we go into our public folder, where's, okay, so yeah, dist is not here. Okay. Oh, I forgot one thing. Sorry, guys. So here in our, we actually had a gitignore file inside the public directory. And notice here inside this gitignore, Angular was saying to ignore the dist folder. God dang it. All right, so yeah, probably what you'd want to do if you were kind of following along with this is delete this gitignore file early on, okay? That way you wouldn't have to rebuild it on the server. We can try to build it on the server. I don't know. So let's, yeah, let's go sudo npm i-g and then angular CLI. That was dumb. You're guys thinking we were going to avoid this building stuff. Okay, no. Alright, cool. Now we need to run it, right? So we'll go ng build. We don't need to do the watch part. What?
You need to npm install it in the public.
That's where I am.
Yeah, you npm install it.
True.
Now I feel
Yeah, sorry about this, guys. It's supposed to be more streamlined, but
let's just write a script
to do all this? Then everyone will get black belts, right? Alright.
Maybe I'll just write a script myself.
There you go. Alright, now I want to do that. ng build. Okay. Generating our bundles. Hopefully this works. ES5 bundles. Oh no. What if? I have an idea. Just in case this doesn't work, what if we just delete this gitignore file and we repush to our remote, right? Okay. Let's do that. Delete this guy. If that's trash. This finish up. Okay. Yeah, it seems like it's stalled out here. So let's go in here. RESTful tasks API. Let's go get status. Okay, so we're adding in our dist folder, so this should be good. So let's go get add dot commit restored dist folder. Push it. Let's go back here. Cancel out of this. Okay, I'll go one level up and then I'll just git pull again. Alright, fair enough. Let's see if we can load this guy up. Yeah! Pretty exciting, huh? There you go, guys.